Ramzan Kadyrov's final demobilization cord. The dying Don is preparing some real action for the Kremlin. A public spy channel known for leaking information reports that people in Grozny are tired of Moscow ignoring their demands. To reduce the activity of fighters from the ultra-right, nationalist, xenophobic and anti-migrant organization, Russian Community.
The guys banded together to protect themselves and their homeland, to stand against the many enemies of the people.
The Russian Community emerged in Russia at the end of 2020. Its unofficial leader is believed to be the irreplaceable head of the investigative committee, Bastrykin, and its curator is said to be the Orthodox millionaire Konstantin Malofeev. The Russian Community is known for its fight against labor migrants. It has a huge number of pages on social networks, including on resources banned in Russia. On their channels, the ultra-right promote their ideas and post videos of their confrontations with newcomers to the Russian Federation. In many regions of the country, such vigilantes are active. Dressed in uniforms and balaclavas, these tough guys go on raids with the police.
When will they finally introduce a visa regime and full control over all arrivals from Central Asia? How many more Russian children and women have to be raped by migrants? How many men have been killed? We are facing a real war here. I'm not talking about the special military operation right now. The war is happening right in Russian cities. This fire has already reached our land. People, wake up! We are being maimed and killed by foreigners. The worst is yet to come because there are about 600,000 migrant children in Russia who do not attend school. This is an uncontrolled environment where crime, Wahhabism, separatism and terrorism are being formed. Who and when will start cleaning out these Augean stables?
The peak of the Russian Community's rise began after the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. At the moment, more than 150 regional and city branches of the organization have been announced. And its supporters are among the first to report to the authorities. Besides turning on their own, Russians vent their anger on migrants, many of whom are Chechens, and this has already seriously annoyed the Kadyrov clan. According to sources, in Grozny they have decided to launch a campaign of so-called reverse discrimination. In response to the Russian Community, the fading Don has come up with his own project.
The first focal points will be precisely those cities where the Russian Community is actively filming and spreading videos humiliating Chechens. Branches of the movement will start appearing in Moscow, St. Petersburg and Yekaterinburg, and later, according to Kadyrov's plan, across the entire country. At the same time, in Chechnya itself, the creation of headquarters for coordination and agitation is already being discussed, including through social networks and religious centers.
Here is the presentation of Kadyrov's idea. On Apti Alaudinov's page, there was a repost of publications from the newly created group Community of Friendship of Peoples.
An important step towards uniting the true patriots of our country. I, Maximov Baran, am the head of this project. The creation of such a space is solely my own initiative. My respected elder brother, assistant to the head of the Chechen Republic, hero of Russia, commander of the Akhmat Special Forces, Apti Aronovich Alaudinov, is supporting me in this important undertaking. But it is important to understand that he is not the head of the community. I invite everyone who shares our values and who is ready to contribute to the development of our motherland to join the ranks of true patriots.
And even though the head of the Friendship of People's Community tries to divert attention away from Alaudinov, his influence is clearly visible in all the few posts in the group. Here, for example, is a pathetic attempt by Apti to show that all nationalities in Russia are united.
I am Chechen by nationality. My religion is Islam. So who do we have here? Mustafa. Mustafa, what's your nationality? Russian. Russian? Russian Mustafa? Yes. I see. Where are you from?
From Ramenskoye, which is a place I am from. I might have some Caucasian features, or at least that is what some people say. I don't take offense.
People have mistaken me for a Chechen or someone from Grozny. Why be offended? Yeah, right. Is that okay? The most important thing I got from Bok. See, good job. All right. So Mustafa is Russian by nationality from Ramenskoye. All right. I want to show you something. So, teacher, Imam, Akhmat Special Forces. What is your nationality? Lesgin. Lesgin, please. So, what is your nationality? Russian. Russian? Where are you from? Ulyanovsk region. Ulyanovsk region, please. So?
Hamster, go to hell.
Well, of course, you don't look like a hamster. Too healthy. Russian by nationality. Please.
Marvelous. Russian by nationality.
In the Rostov region.
According to insiders, Grozny is launching a large-scale PR campaign involving activists who will start disrupting Russian community events and shaping a counter-narrative. Sources clarify that the structure will operate like a mobile network of headquarters. At the same time, the activists will demonstratively support other minorities for informational effect. The main goal of the organization is to create the impression among the audience that Kadyrov's project protects everyone, while the Russian community is not Nazis disguised as patriots.
The pilot of Kadyrov's Friendship of People's Community will be tested in Moscow. Adam Delimkhanov will be responsible for the community's influence in the capital. After that, the network will spread across the regions of Russia. Of course, that's if they win the first battles with the Russian community. At the very least, even if the fight hasn't started yet, they've shown that their activities in Chechnya have been noticed. On their public page, they mock the leader's clothing and refer to him only as Baran Maximov, Dinki Bintinya Geti.
While the Russian regime intensifies repression and clamps down on any manifestations of civil protest, activists are finding new ways to fight. Some are fighting on the front lines as part of the Ukrainian armed forces, while others are carrying out dangerous work behind enemy lines, where every act of sabotage and resistance strikes a blow against Putin's system.
The underground is called the underground for a reason. We only learn about its activities when some action takes place. No to war. No to war.
Since the start of the full-scale war, the number of people willing to openly oppose the regime has been steadily growing. These are people with different political views and ethnic backgrounds. Russians, Belarusians, Georgians, Armenians, Chechens, Bashkirs, and many others. United by a single goal, the overthrow of the Putin regime.
These are all scattered individuals, each acting independently. They are all trying to stop the system.
Russian news feeds are increasingly reporting arson attacks on military enlistment offices, sabotage of railway lines, damage to military infrastructure, and other acts of resistance.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Little is known about the Partisans. Some say they are actively supported by Russian volunteers. Some consider this movement to be autonomous and self-contained within Russia.
There are a lot of them. The underground is in many ways very atomized, and that's understandable too. Primarily because there is such serious repression right now. Among the most well-known groups, a few can be mentioned. There is a group called Skrepoch. They claimed responsibility, for example, for the explosion at the FSB building in Rostov-on-Don. And in general, from the very beginning, they started their activities in southern Russia. And accordingly, they carried out many actions there.
Among those known to the general public is the BOK Group, the combat organization of communists. They are responsible for many acts of sabotage on the railways, the so-called rail war.
There is also another fairly well-known leader of a movement that has been recognized, I believe, as either terrorist or extremist. At this point, everything in Russia has gotten mixed up. Art Podgotovka of Vyacheslav Malafiev, he also claims that he has many partisans. And for example, a very notable incident, though there is very little information about it, is the explosion at Detsky Mir, near the FSB building on Lubyanka, in which a well-known FSB officer was injured. But the details about this explosion are also unknown. The authorities started telling us that it was some kind of helium tank explosion, which of course can't possibly explain either the destruction or the number of dead and injured.
Special attention should be paid to the movement in Bashkortostan, the Bashkort Resistance Committee.
This is a more complex story here. There are also actions here, including arson and explosions at various different organizations, as well as mass protests that also erupted and flared up in the Republic. For which specifically, the Russian authorities officially blamed this very committee.
We should also note the activities of the volunteers from the company, Bashkort, who are fighting for Ukraine and at the same time building up an underground movement in their home republic, which is actively expanding. In addition to the capital of the republic, Ufa, the fighters send their agents to the regions. There, local residents paint the unit's symbol, a letter that combines R and B, which stands for the Bashkort company. In the city of Belebey, there are already especially many of these symbols. In this way, residents express their support and solidarity with the struggle for the freedom of Bashkortostan. Activists warn the pro-Russian authorities that they are closer than it may seem and urge local residents to be vigilant and cautious. According to information from the company's fighters, more and more Bashkirs are ready to stand together as one to defend their native region, supporting the resistance movement within the country.
The underground persists, the underground is expanding. Another matter, as I already said in response to the previous question, is that this activity does not imply any kind of publicity. We see it clearly, we know this work, and by and large, the various incidents that occur in the Russian Federation do not happen without the involvement of those who operate underground and fight against Putin's government, against the Putin regime.
And this is only the small part of the resistance that is known. Despite the repressive system and constant surveillance, the activity of dissenters continues to grow. Even under the harshest conditions inside Russia, new centers of resistance are emerging. And the number of people willing to act against the regime is increasing.
Through Kadyrov's words, the truth is spoken, the truth that Putin is afraid to voice. The head of the Chechen Republic explained that it is currently not in Russia's interest to stop the fighting and that peace is only possible when Ukraine becomes a region of Russia. Essentially, this statement is diametrically opposed to Putin's claim that Russia is ready for negotiations.
Such a publication serves two purposes. The first purpose is to show that he is still alive and in fact still capable of something. And the second purpose is to show that supposedly there are not only people like Putin in Russia, who is even ready to give up parts of the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions that they have already incorporated into their constitution, but also so-called hawks who want to take all of Ukraine. This is meant to highlight that Putin isn't so bad after all, so that there's something to show first and foremost to Trump.
Kadyrov claims that he is not a supporter of stopping military actions in the area that the Russian occupiers call the special military operation. And a ceasefire there is currently not beneficial for the Russians.
This is precisely an attempt to show that Putin is still relatively sane, but that he has some completely crazy people around him. He is the one holding back these completely crazy people. And accordingly, on the one hand, we see this nonsense that Kadyrov is spouting, and on the other hand, we see something else. A super mega religious procession in Moscow to show that we have some truly insane people here with outrageous demands.
Ukraine and Kadyrov's crazy ideas don't end there. Not long ago, he claimed that the American president, Donald Trump, is a Chechen.
After the effective failure of the negotiations in Anchorage and after the demonstrative performance in China, I don't think Trump will enter into direct talks with Putin anytime soon. Yes, maybe. If it works out, he will arrange a meeting for three: Putin, Zelensky, and himself, Trump. But I don't think he will go for direct talks with Putin.
Ramzan Kadyrov is a service dog who obediently carries out the master's orders, receiving his bone for it. Moreover, it doesn't really matter to him who gives him that bone, whether it's one master or another.
If something happens to Putin, then Kadyrov's armed bandits could play a certain role in the redistribution of power after Putin. And they could benefit one of the groups that will be fighting for power.
Nevertheless, no matter how you look at it, everything Kadyrov does comes from Putin. And what the Kremlin master cannot say or show himself is done for him by his dim-witted servants who are unlikely to think it through.